there, if you watched the Scrapinar on using 6x6 paper pads, then this page will look familiar. In this video, I have the entire page process starting with the sketch and picking product all the way through the completed page. For today's page, I have a group of photos that I want to run in a photo strip, and my theme for this page is going to be kind of getting out of the house. If you followed along with any of my other Project Life videos, it seems like all of my pictures are things that we're doing around the house. Well, finally in April we actually got out and went places, and so I have a few photos to do a page to kind of summarize that. Many of these get their own page, or at least some of them do, and some of them this will be the only place that I talk about them. I'm also going to be doing several little tiny journaling cards or embellishments, and where I'm getting those from are some of the 6x6 paper pads. When they reduce those down, you get, instead of those big cards that you might use for more traditional Project Life, you get some little tiny cards that make great embellishments. So I have these from Webster's Pages. I have the 24/7 collection from Simple Stories, and then I have a My Mind's Eye collection as well, the collectible collection. So I have those from the 6x6 paper pads. I'm going to cut up and use some of those. Also from Webster's Pages, from the same place these came from, this is Allison Craft Composition and Color, and I love these because they're a real heavy quality paper, and you get 2 of every sheet, and also the backing of the front labeling is another page that you can use most of it. So I may use this for journaling, one or the other for journaling, but I'm definitely using this map print, since this kind of talks, kind of gives the impression of getting out and going, and it goes with the theme. Other things that I have for embellishments, I drew these arrows on here because I knew that I would use some arrows, and I have these new paper clips. This is from 2 Peas in a Bucket. They're a special product they developed with Lawn Fawn, and they come in a lot of different colors. I have some older product as well from Basic Gray, some covered brads that have arrows and things on them, and just a whole general travel and movement thing. And I think I have some clips too that go with travel, so I may pull those out and look at those. When I started this, I had planned to mist the background paper, but I picked for a background paper this green dot that goes really well with my papers and photos and all, and I think that misting it, I think that might get lost, so I may use something a little more prominent in these enamel dots. I also have some arrow stamps that I may put on there as well, and lots of, some lettering options that I pulled out that go with the paper colors. So that's what I've got to work with for the page, and I'll probably end up with some washi tape or a few other things. With the sketch, I'm a little undecided. There's a lot on the sketch, and so I may use all these, or I may leave an element or 2 off. We'll kind of see how it goes. I've taken my small photos and I've attached them to a strip of scrap cardstock so they'll be easier to handle, moving things around and adding things underneath. I've got my 6x6 map print, and I have printed the journaling on one of the pieces from the 6x6 collection. So I'm laying out the title here and trying to figure out what letters I'm going to use. That one set of old Basic Gray undressed chipboard, I didn't have hardly anything left, but I did happen to have G and O for the word go, because we're going to say off we go in the title. And I'm trying some different letters here for we. I got some that were too small, and then some that were too big, and then some that were just right. I'm not sure though that that's showing up well enough on this map print, and I'm going to try a trick that I learned from Nicole McGuirk to use vellum, but I would really rather avoid that. So another possibility is to change the weave from a rust color to a brighter color like this green, because I can paint the color or the word go in any color, but if I do the we in a brighter green that shows up a little bit better, I can paint that GO in a burgundy, or excuse me, a rust. And I know I want to add some stamping to the bottom of my journaling. I have a little bit of room there, and I have some stamps from Lawn Fawn, and this is really a larger background kind of stamp, but I'm just going to use part of it to stamp a row of arrows going across. And I'm going to test it on some leftover paper from that journaling. this using tea-dye ink. Sometimes the Distress ink stamp okay, and other times they don't show up really good. But the Lawn Fawn stamps I'm finding just work beautifully with every kind of ink, and that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that on the bottom, making sure I have the arrows going off to the right, so I want all my arrows kind of going in that direction. One thing that I think indicates that you're going to like a page is if you get, as you're building it, you like it as you go. It doesn't seem to need something. And right now I have photos, I have title, I have journaling. I could leave it as it is. It would be a complete page with all the information, and I'm really happy with it. However, I can make it better by adding some more embellishments that kind of continue to reinforce this theme. So on my sketch, I have some strips down here underneath, and I also have some up here, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do all of that, but I'm going to go ahead and put a few things on here. I have a number of papers from the 6x6 pad. The camera paper I don't think is going to work out, but I have some arrows and a chevron. I also have a chevron washi tape that's a possibility. And I'm going to cut these into some strips and put them underneath that strip of photos, but I'm going to have to split them in order to get them to go far enough across. And you can do this with 6x6 paper, and nobody knows it's 6x6 when you get done. So let's try a strip of that washi up at the top there first, kind of see how that looks as we're going along. The only trick to doing this is just to keep everything straight and to keep everything going the same direction, and then nobody knows that you took papers that weren't really that wide and just split them in the middle and moved them across there. So I'm just playing with the arrangement and figuring out what I want where and how far over and all that kind of thing. I'm going to ink the edges of all these with Distress inks, and that'll help them stand out a little bit more from each other. And I'm not sure I like that washi tape up there. I think I might like the other chevron, the paper chevron, with a little bit better because it matches a little bit better. So I've got that, or trying that up on the top in some different widths. And I've adhered the other papers down there behind the photos. I do have a washi tape though that matches really well that I can add to sort of pull all this together. Alright, now I've got those two sections, so I'm ready to look at some other embellishment for the page, and I have all these little cards that were the little journaling cards that I cut out of some of those pads that I was showing at the beginning of the video. I've just cut up a bunch of those, and I'm pulling out some brads. These are some old brads from Basic Gray from a travel collection, and I like the arrows as they kind of build in my theme, but they're all different kinds of arrows. I'm using arrow paper clips, paper that has arrows on it, so they'll all look a little bit different. I don't think it'll be too many arrows. Those little paper clips look really cute, and they're just a nice subtle touch to a page. Playing with some of these different little cards and seeing how I want to order them and what I want to see and what I don't. I like the postcard one because that kind of goes with travel. And then I picked some bingo cards that have words on them that I think work for what we're doing. And I'm having a little trouble figuring out where to put the brads. So again, kind of going back to the sketch and deciding on things. And I needed one more little card that sort of made up my own. I created a little tag out of it. You can see it there on the right. Now, one thing that's bothering me a bit is once I put the little cards in, the photos get crowded, and I think you're losing the photos. So I'm trying some strips of paper. I would use larger strips and put them behind the photos, but I'm just getting an idea of what color I like. I've got some gold and I've got some brown. And I just want to create a border, basically a mat. But since I've glued the photos down in the center, I can add something underneath each edge. I just can't really do a full mat, but that's okay. That's all you're going to see is what's sticking out from the edge. I also still have those little
those little dots, what are they called? But I think that may be too much. I think I need to go back to the idea of doing some mist instead. So that's what I'm going to do next, is add some, move all this stuff out of the way and add a little misting, and then put some Distress ink around the outside of each of the cards. And I've added some mist in the corners of each of the corners of the page. So subtly bring the eye across. And I went ahead and added a third brad to this, so that the main thing here is the visual triangle of the brad, and then the mist is just a subtle diagonal accent. And if you watch this on the Scrapinar that I did, this is one of the layouts. I showed a little bit of it. I didn't show, I don't think, this last little strip here of green in the paper underneath the photos. I figured that I had some green up there in the upper right corner, but I didn't have any down at the bottom, so I added just one more paper strip in the green.
So here's our final page. Let's take a look at the sketch. We have the strip of photos, and I did leave both embellishment groups, but I added sort of a triangle rather than so much of the diagonal kind of work, which I think really works better with this. And let's see how this finished off. So here are my embellishments that I cut out of the 6x6 paper pads, the little paper clips, strips down at the bottom that I split just to make those go a little bit further, and the journaling was printed on some of the 6x6 paper as well. So thanks for watching today.